Okay, so in the world of hot hatches, these two cars are on opposite ends because you have one car that's quite cheap and offers decent performance, but really depends on the chassis to give you the thrills. This car is on full attack mode all the time. A lot of power from its 2-liter engine. This is the most powerful 2-liter engine ever made. It's got 4-wheel drive. It's got all the aero you want. It's got hard suspension. And this car just makes do with 140 PS and basic torsion beam stuff. They're so different, but they're both hot hatches. So what can we discern from that? How much contrast can I find between these two cars?
So apart from being white and not having a sticky out boot, these two cars couldn't be more different. On one opposing side of the hot hatch spectrum, we have the Swift Sport. Not only bigger than a Myvi and weighing just 1,000 kilograms, this car is all about lightweight agility. It looks sportier than the normal 3rd gen Swift, of course, but the sport bits aren't too aggressive. It's got 17-inch alloy wheels, twin exhaust, but still looks kinda cute. I still can't believe NASA Eastern chose this car to kick off their run as Suzuki's new local distributors. There's some controversy here. Like I said, it's no bigger than the Myvi, while lacking much active safety or tech to brag about. Yet it cost 140,000 ringgit.
Okay, the reason why this car in particular is controversial is because this is a more expensive Swift Sport. It has a turbocharged engine where the previous ones didn't have one. 1.4 liters, 140 PS, I believe. Torque, I am not so sure, but let's just forget about torque for a while. Just admire the fact that it has a lot of torque because of that turbocharger. This is a fast car. Okay, so this 1.4 liter booster jet hasn't ruined the Swift Sport formula. It doesn't feel so turbocharged. You have turbo lag, of course. But really, the controversial part is this transmission. The fact that it has flappy pedals and I can't do anything with my right foot. There's no clutch, there's no shifting of the gears myself. I'm not so busy anymore. So in a way, the Swift Sport has grown up. It's still fun though. I mean, I can't really fault it for the fun. It's 140,000 ringgit. Is it 140,000 ringgit fun? I don't know. I can't really speak on behalf of Swift Sport owners of the previous versions. But in terms of generally being a very fast, but fun car, I think this still fits that bill. Of course, there's nothing fancy going inside. There's no fancy safety systems. There's no fancy driver assistance systems. Nothing getting in the way of you and your fun. Okay? I'm leaving it now and just drive. It's on like 4th gear, I think. Let's say if I go manual, it only receives input from me when driving the car. Now in 3rd gear, 2nd gear, very quick shifts. Huh. You couldn't do that in a Swift Sport in the past. You couldn't get up to that speed in that amount of time with the old car. But when you get into a corner, it settles in, it bites, it hurls you along, you crack a smile, and you want more. That's what a hot hatch does. Brakes feel good. A lot of modulation to be had. Very easy. Everything comes quite naturally when you drive this Swift Sport. The calibration in terms of the steering, brakes, and just the way the tires and the wheels feel ahead of you feel quite natural. So it's a Swift Sport. It's a hot hatch. All right. But to be honest, no one was really doubting the fact that this would be a proper hot hatch, a proper Swift Sport, and a really good successor to whatever came before. But is it enough to sway you with its asking price of 140,000 ringgit? For me, no.
While the Swift Sport is just about the purest distillation of what you can consider a hot hatch, just get it with the 6-speed manual, it can be hard to justify that price tag, especially when you look at what 140k can get you in the used market. But what a Suzuki is a somewhat updated interpretation of a classic formula. The Mercedes-AMG A45s 4MATIC Plus is a whole new thing. It's cutting edge, and so is its price, 438,000 ringgit. It's basically the hypercar supercar of the hot hatch world. 420 PS, 500 Newton meters, all-wheel drive. The numbers alone are intimidating.
To be honest, this doesn't really feel like a super hardcore, gonna cut your neck off if you make a mistake kind of hot hatch. Not yet, at least. And again, I am still in comfort mode. It's a bit slippery outside. Like Malaysia, it always rains at the wrong time, so it's a little bit slippery outside. I'm still gonna leave it in comfort. I'm not gonna go too hardcore. I've been driving this car, to be honest, for a few days, and I've only had a few short runs in the Swift Sport. But back to back, these feel totally different. They are very different machines. On the spectrum of hot hatches, this is the hypercar. The hypercar, this is the Bugatti Veyron of hot hatches. And I'm contrasting that with like the Mazda MX-5 of hot hatches, the Swift Sport. This car is really insane. This car has no business being this powerful, this fast, point to point. I think what I'm saying, that this not only is the hypercar of hot hatches, but point to point, it might be the fastest car you could ever buy, right now on sale at least. Because it's got so much power, so much pace, and it's so controllable because the 4MATIC system shuffles power around. It doesn't just go up a road, it bullies the road into submission. Now that engine, I can't escape it. You can't escape this engine. The old A45 made do with 360 horsepower, which is a lot still. But this one comes with 420 PS. 420 PS. Look, hot hatches having more than 400 horsepower from the factory. That's not how it's supposed to go. It's like breaking that 200 mph barrier for supercars. And you get that from a 2-liter engine. Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes-AMG had to go through so much trial and error and engineering to manufacture an engine that could withstand the kind of pressures this thing is being asked to withstand. And you know, it's supposed to be daily drivable too. This is like Evo 400, Evo FQ 400 territory, but without, it's still got a thick turbocharger, but it's not laggy. You have some lag, you're aware it's turbocharged. It leans into the fact that it's turbocharged with this noise and everything else, but it's not unwieldy turbocharged. Like right now, I can put my foot down, I get response. This thing, 420 PS, my God, I just can't get over that number. That is E92 M3 territory. That is Audi RS4 territory. That is Audi R8 territory. In a hot hatch. Sorry, not hot hatch. Mega hatch. This thing is so much more intense than any hot hatch. Like I said, it's the Bugatti Veyron. Bugatti went out of their way to manufacture a whole new engine for that car. It gave it every measure it could find to rein in that power. But with this kind of performance and the accessibility of that performance, it's the most potent, quickest point-to-point machine that you can buy right now, I think. And Mercedes-AMG, of course, didn't just put all the engineering into that engine and just forget about the rest. It has crafted an experience. I mean, you step in this car without realizing what it can do, and you might be fooled, might be lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that, oh, look at this, I'm looking at an A-class dashboard, I've got this huge, very ultra-wide screen, MBUX infotainment / instrument cluster ahead of me, I've got ambient lighting, I've got a nice Burmester sound system. It's an A-class. I'll treat it like an A-Class. But you can't. You have to treat it with so much more respect.
So, what does that leave us? Personally, I don't want to have to treat my hot hatch, my ideal hot hatch, with respect all the time. That's no fun. I want to abuse it. That's kind of the point. Drive like a hooligan, raise some hell. But the A45 is just too good for that. Too bloody competent to be playful all the time. The grip is immense. The power is breathtaking. The interior is beautiful. It might sound like I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but based on fun factor, the Swift wins. The AMG is the superior machine, no question. But even with that 6-speed auto, the wrong transmission, the Suzuki is the better hot hatch. Yeah, if only the price made sense.